Hi, and welcome to Alchemy for the 21st Century, the Rebirth of Resistance. My name's Gary, and I'm the author of the program. Just wanted to take a little time to talk with you about it today. Alchemy for the 21st Century is the idea of bringing ancient forgotten concepts up through time for our review and interpretation in the 21st century in order to create a new paradigm. Rebirth of Resistance is mankind's awareness that things are changing, but these changes aren't in his favor. And it is this awareness that has produced the events or reactions that we're seeing throughout the world, such as the demonstrations, the riots, and the revolutionary movements. The only problem here is none of these things are producing the desired outcome, and it could be because these responses are predictable, and when something is predictable, it can be made to fit into a predetermined model or hijacked for an alternative motive. So what we can say is that all mankind's efforts aren't producing the changes that he wants. But maybe it's because mankind's failing to recognize another problem. What I believe is happening today is something called structural change. And structural change is nothing more than structure changing itself for its own evolutionary purpose. And a definition of structure would be the dominant global institutions of the world. So what we could say is it is the dominant global institutions of the world defining themselves for the 21st century, and it is this redefinition that's producing the social environments in the world that many people in the world are rejecting, including our friends in Europe, especially those in Greece and in the Middle East. What we can say is that structural change is relatively non-threatening, and it's non-threatening because the paradigm from which the structure is created upon remains intact and is never threatened. And this would be a good time to interject an idea of paradigm. Paradigm is an organization of concepts that creates the beliefs that glues us into a culture, and it is our belief in the paradigm that keeps us playing the rigged game, so change never occurs. And what man can hope for in structural change is nothing more than a negotiation into a better deal. And sometimes these better deals might last a few generations, sometimes they're short term, and what we're seeing right now is definitely short-term movement. What I hope you're asking here brings us to the next point. How do we get the changes we want? And I wish I could tell you there's some type of ancient knowledge out there that instantly transformed everything. There isn't. I've been studying ancient concepts for over 30 years, and what I can say that ancient wisdom is nothing more than concepts that produce an alternative paradigm. And this alternative paradigm either supports the current one and is passed on through history and for support, or it can reject the current one, and that way they're left behind in history to be forgotten. It is the ones that are left behind that we may need to look at because they bring up a new idea or a new concept about individualism. Not the type of individualism we see today that's nothing more than a form of selfishness, but a redefinition of who and what we are. It redefines what is self-worth, what is potentials, what is talent. It redefines prosperity, cooperation, harmony, and purpose. It is from these redefinitions, these other type of concepts, that we begin to create a new paradigm with the hopes of ridding ourselves of the current one, or at least transforming it into something better. And when this occurs, its structures become obsolete. So we reorganize ourselves into new structures. Ancient alchemists, or ancient Egyptians, gave us clues to this, and one such clue would be in their statement that mankind lives in chaos until he overcomes his spiritual ignorance with knowledge. This isn't a religious statement. This would have to do with the ancient Egyptians' concept of harmony. So let's bring this up to the 21st century. What we can say here is that it is mankind that changes through the interjection of new ideas. Okay, that produces a new paradigm that moves us into another age of prosperity and harmony. It is a movement. The other one too is the ancient alchemists talked about something that would support these ideas, and this would be their concept of changing lead into gold. This can be interpreted as the goal of mankind to better himself. So in other words, mankind becomes better than what he is by the interjection of knowledge that supports it. This is all called evolutionary or fundamental change, and neither one of these changes are very seldom talked about. Okay, this is sort of something that's been passed on through time. So if we put this all together, what we can say here, it is mankind through the interjection of new ideas that changes what he believes in, that begins a new age and a new direction. And we can say this works both for the individual and for the collective. They can apply to both. So anyway, too, is I'm hoping that you like this video and you would take some time and look at my website, look at my other videos, and what you will see there too is I have an ebook, something you might find interesting and maybe enlightening. What I hope is that you take some time, look this over, and what you will see that it's not the same old stuff, and this is relatively important because it's the same old stuff that we hear every day, that each generation has heard before. It's the same solutions to the same problems. Okay? One thing for sure, my book's not that. My book gives you a different perspective. And if we put this all together, its changes begins in the masses. Is when the individual becomes aware of something new and the masses see something different. That change occurs and mankind begins to take control of his destiny again. Thank you.